With so many CPUs on the market nowadays, it's hard to find the one that you want to use. The newest and the most top of the line CPUs are reaching upwards of $700. The lower end CPUs are barely even hitting $100. Out of the long list of available CPUs we have nowadays, which one is the best for the price? In my opinion, the best price to performance would be the Ryzen 5 5600 series. There are three CPUs in the Ryzen 5 5600 series. There is the normal, the X, and the G. They all do a little bit different things. The G specifically is better for someone that doesn't have their own graphics card. It definitely excels in doing that. The normal is, just a normal CPU, and the X version is just a little bit tiny upgraded for a little bit more money. All three are great for a budget CPU, but some of them do better than others. As I stated previously, the G is better for someone that doesn't have their own graphics card. The X is a little bit better performance, not much. It is a very minimal boost. The major difference is in the boost clock speed, and the normal 5600 is better for price to performance. The 5600G is going for around 120 USD. The normal 5600 is going for around 145, 150-ish USD, and the X is going around 160 USD. In my opinion, the X really isn't worth it, considering it's worth more and you don't really get a whole lot out of it besides that extra boost clock, which is absolutely not needed. The three CPUs come with a Stealth Wraith cooler included, which is what you're seeing in the video now. It is just a simple heatsink with a fan, no RGB, no lighting. Nothing special, but it does get the job done. Before I get into what these CPUs have, let me get a little bit into what these numbers mean. A core and a processor is basically a little brain, and all these little brains do work in unison. Now, there are two types of cores. There is a P core and an E core. The P core is basically used for heavy loads and not simple tasks, while E cores are basically the ones that run in the background and do the things on your PC that go by themselves. And then there are threads. In simple terms, it is basically a sequence that the brain gives it to complete. In P cores, there are two per core, and E cores, there's only one. Now, at the moment, AMD does not use E cores, only Intel does, and that is because AMD is very power efficient regardless. That is why in some cases you will see a 16 core processor with 24 threads, because there's 8 P cores and 8 E cores. Now, if you're wanting to buy your own PC but don't quite have enough money for the GPU yet, the G is definitely the one for you. The G is the only one out of the three that has integrated graphics, which means that you can use a monitor through your motherboard port and it'll work as a GPU. However, the G does perform worse than the standard 5600 and the X version, with the boost clock speed being about 250 megahertz below the standard 5600. Here's one small example of what FPS would look like in-game using the 5600G. This clip is from one of my friends over at Twitch while he was streaming. For $120, averaging almost 200 FPS is more than enough. You'll never really need more than 240 and can perfectly get by, averaging about 180 to 200. The 5600G is a 6-core 12-thread processor with a base clock of 3.9 GHz and can go up to 4.4. It has a default TDP of 65 watts. Now you might be asking, what does TDP mean? It means thermal design power. Basically, it is stating that is the number of watts that will be used under max power load. Most of the time, it will not be like that. It'll be under that. TJ max of the 5600G is 95C. Now, the TJ max is basically stating the max operating temperature that the CPU can run at. Usually, what I do to fix such a high number is turn down the voltage in the BIOS. The only time I do recommend this CPU is when you don't have your own GPU, or if you're just trying to save as much money as possible. The standard 5600 is also a 6-core 12-thread processor with a base clock of 3.5 GHz and can also go up to 4.4. The default TDP is again 65 watts and the TJ Max is 90C. This CPU does have a little bit of performance boost over the G. There is no integrated graphics, so there is nothing focusing on that. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a clip of this CPU running in game. It does have about a 10 to 15% performance increase, and for $20 extra, that's not too bad. The 5600X is a 6-core 12-thread processor with a base clock speed of 3.7 GHz and can go up to 4.6. The default TDP is again 65 watts and the TJ max is 95C, the same as the G. The X is the exact same thing as the standard 5600 except for that extra boost clock speed. It has about 200 megahertz higher. Other than that, it is mirror for mirror the same thing. Unlike the 250 megahertz boost between the normal and the G, the normal actually uses everything on what you're doing instead of having some of it saved for the integrated graphics, whereas this one only has that 200 megahertz boost and serves no other benefit besides that. The difference between the X and the normal, in my opinion, really isn't worth it, considering it is an extra $20 more. The normal is about 140 and the X is about 160, and you get no other benefit besides that extra clock speed. In the end, for which one is best, it really just depends. Like for the G, if you don't have a graphics card, that one would be the best for you, or if you're trying to save the most money. If you are wanting to look for a little bit more performance and you already have a graphics card, then the standard 5600 is a great option. It does serve a little bit more of a performance boost, has a little bit higher of a clock speed, and if you're willing to spend a little bit more money for a tiny bit more performance, then the X would be the one for you. It more comes down to the person and what kind of setup you're running. If you are looking for a CPU that has the best price to performance, the normal 5600 is one of the best for that. There is only a few more CPUs out there that have a better one. This one comes up as 4th on the board with a score of 180, with the highest being 229. All three of these CPUs can be overclocked, which means you can give it a little bit more performance boost, which is, in my opinion, recommended. It all depends on the motherboard that you have and the power supply, if you are able to supply it. Throughout these three, in my personal opinion, I would go for the standard 5600 because I don't like spending more money than I have to for the performance, but I do want to get as much performance as I can out of the money that I am spending. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Only like it if you do enjoy the video and enjoyed me getting a little 23 kill win. When this goes live, I will be live on Twitch, so if you do want to talk to me in real time, just head over there. It'll be in the description. Until next time, I'm out.